Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Sanghaṃ Namasami. So after the Buddha's awakening, his awakening to the truth of the way things are, he endeavored to share this insight in many different ways. So he had many ways of pointing and framing and guiding and directing people to come back to this natural state, the true nature. And it's an irony, really, because what he was pointing to was what is very simple and natural and ordinary, but it's hard for us to see it because we're habitually caught up in kind of mental proliferation, what we add on to what is simply happening here and now, what is. And it's the roots of that run deep in most of us. The tendency to want, to have, for desire and aversion and confusion, identification. We are affected by things. We're affected by environments. We're affected by how people speak. Particular, whether people speak in a way that's resonant with us or maybe triggering for us, but depending on our particular conditioning. People like different things and dislike different things and feel safe in some circumstances. Some situations feel really safe. So for some people to sit in silence together might feel like, oh, it's so lovely. It's my favourite thing. That was always for me the favourite thing, to find a group of people that I could sit in silence with. It's funny, isn't it? You feel like, well, just sit on your own in silence, But somehow sitting with other people in silence has just felt so good, such a lovely thing to do. And then for others it might be a bit scary. What are they thinking? Have I done something wrong? So that we bring our conditioning to our experience, to the moment. And the Buddha is pointing to the truth of things before these overlays of our desires and aversions, of our preferences and habits. So he's pointing to suchness. The Zen have this word suchness. Things are as they are. In the Pali language there's this word tattata. Tattata means things as they are, just like this. And one of the epithets, one of the ways that the Buddha is referred to is Tathagata. So that's coming from this tattata, Tathagata. It means one who knows things as they are. So tattata is just how it is, just like this, without anything added. And yet it's hard for us to see that. It's hard to find life, experience, direct experience without what we add onto it. So he was pointing to these three characteristics of existence, that everything has the characteristic of impermanence. Everything is changing. Everything is changing all the time. And that's one way of saying it. Everything is changing. Another way to say it is everything is in a state of flux. It's slightly different. So we have these two different ways of translating anicca. Anicca is the Pali word. And sometimes that's translated as impermanence, and sometimes it's translated as transience. And for me, they have a slightly different ring to them. So impermanence has this, for me, it has the sense of like there's something that's not permanent. So like this cup. This cup, and there's the very famous quote of Ajahn Chah, that the cup is already broken. This cup that is holding water right now is already broken. So what he's pointing to is not actually broken, it's whole, but what he's pointing to is it's inevitable that this cup will break. It cannot last forever, it's impossible. Even if it's my favourite cup and I love this cup and I want it to last forever, it will still break. So that's one way, and that's a true way. And another way of seeing anicca is this word transience or flux. And that's a little bit more how physicists might see things, that what we call a thing isn't really a thing, it's a process. So there's a cupping process going on here. And there's a rugging process going on here. So this rug wasn't always a rug. Not sure what it's made of, but if it's wool, it would have been a flock of sheep at one time, and maybe some plants growing in a field, and then it was the sheep were shorn and the wool was dyed and spun, and maybe something often as hemp plants were cut and the material like like mesh, ropey kind of mesh was made of that. That's the backing of the rug, and then the rug was made, and now it's a rug. So when he looked at that field of sheep, he wouldn't have thought, oh, there's a rug. He'd have seen a field of sheep, But now it's a rug. It's rugging. It's a rugging process. And at some point that will wear out, fall apart, and no longer be a rug. It might turn into fuel for a fire, or it might become compost. So it will change. And right now it's doing the rug thing, which is useful for us to have one. Appreciate it. But it's not going to stay like that. Can't. And it's the same with us. So there's an Anandabodhi ing going on here right now, and it's like this. And it wasn't always Anandabodhi. It was doing some other things before Anandabodhi. But since a number of years now, 30 years or so, there's been this Anandabodhi process going on here that has been changing and developing and learning and stumbling and learning a bit more. And at some point, at a time nobody knows, hopefully, I hope nobody knows, this Anandabodhi process will come to an end. There'll be a last breath. And there will be no more Anandabodhi. It'll just be memory. Maybe there'll be a while. Maybe if there's somewhere for the body to lay for a while, people can look and say, "Oh yeah, I remember this, I remember that about her." But it'll just be a cold shell left. And then over time, that shell of the corpse will rot away. Go through its process, or be burned or composted or whatever it ends up doing, what ends up happening to it, and then it'll just be, maybe it'll be earth. Maybe it can go and be part of a tree. That'd be nice. I like that. So this is how it is. So the Buddha's pointing to everything has this process of impermanence, of change, of anicca, without exception. So even big things like planets and solar systems galaxies, they have the nature to change all the time. And even really hard things like diamonds. When you look very, very closely, you'll see even something as hard as a diamond. If you look very, very closely with an extremely good microscope, which may or may not exist, I don't know, you would see a flux, you'd see a vibration, because everything is like that. Everything is changing. So this is the Buddha's insight. He saw that. And it's said that a Buddha, because his mind stream is so completely purified, a Buddha will see, in ordinary life after awakening, will see both the ordinariness of the sentient beings, the people, and the emptiness, the flux. You'll be able to see both simultaneously, which is kind of amazing. And yet he didn't land on either side with that. He didn't say people are, or everything's empty, so people are irrelevant. It doesn't matter how you relate. It doesn't matter what you do, because all things are empty. He didn't say that. He said all things are empty, everything's in a state of flux, and how we meet this matters. So how we relate to each other matters. How we show up in the world matters. Our ethics, our ethics in body, speech, and mind have an effect, and it matters. So it seems like a contradiction. Well, if everything's empty, why does it matter? How could it matter? But it matters because, how am I going to answer that? Gosh, what am I getting myself into here? It matters because we're in this situation of feeling like a separate somebody because of the mind stream not being completely clear. So as long as we're not completely clear, there's me in here and there's you out there, and there's what I project onto that. I like, I don't like, I'm afraid, I want to be friendly, or whatever it might be. And likewise with the world, the whole world. We do that a lot. There's me in here, and then there's nature out there, which could be a commodity or a problem or something wonderful or whatever, however we may relate to it. Or a teacher. It could be, nature can be a teacher. So we think there's me in here, and then there's you out there, everything out there. So that's how it appears, and there's a certain truth to that, but there's a deeper truth that the Buddha points us to that breaks down that sense of separation, me and them. So when the mind stream is fully purified through ethics and deep seeing through collected through sort of focused meditation and wisdom that arises from that. So when the mind stream is purified, then we no longer have that sense of I'm separate from everything. We have this sense of oneness with everything, of being part of everything, which is actually how it is. We are part of everything. Then everything's leaning on everything else. There's no separate something that you can find and define. So the first characteristic is the characteristic of anicca, impermanence or flux. And this is something to be investigated, not believed in. Not I say, Ayya Anandabodhi says everything's in a state of flux. The Buddha says everything's in a state of flux. Therefore, I must believe that. No, you've got to explore it for yourself. Investigate. See, is it true or not? Is there anything? Can you find anything that's permanent, that's going to last forever? forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So have a look for yourself. And then also look at the simple things, like your breath, your body, a day, the things that are around, that are normal, that are part of our experience. Have a look at those things and see what they're teaching. And the Buddha also taught the characteristic of dukkha, so dukkha being unsatisfactoriness, sometimes translated as suffering. So because everything is changing, there is this sense of dukkha. So if this is my favourite cup in the world, I just actually met this cup recently, but if it was my favourite cup in the world and I've had it for a long time and this very special person gave it to me and it's so meaningful, I just want to keep it forever, and then one day, somebody's drying my cup up and they drop it on the floor and it smashes into pieces, and I'm going to be upset, because it was my cup with all those memories, and it's gone. So, this is how it is, and there's dukkha, because what we hold on to is changing, because we're trying to hold on to what is changing. And that's something just sort of physical. But we also do that with moods. We have a nice experience. We feel good, we feel happy, we've had a good experience with someone, or we've had a wonderful retreat or a lovely meditation. And, it's so great, And then it feels like it could always be like this. If I just get the conditions right, it could be like this all the time. But unfortunately, everything's changing. So those good things that we experience are changing. And the conditions that also the conditions that came up, especially with meditation, we might have a really beautiful meditation or a beautiful meditation retreat because we were open and curious or letting go. And in that letting go, something lovely arose. And then we have that lovely experience, and then we remember it, and we're like, okay, let's go and have another retreat. That's right, I was on retreat, and then I was doing this, I was doing that, and then I got that lovely experience. Let's do that again. So that's a completely different approach. It's shifted from a sort of giving of oneself and curiosity to, I want to have that back. There's greed and desire and me involved, which probably weren't involved in the same way before. So then however hard we try, we can't get it back. And then eventually we let go and relax and give up, and then, there it is again, It can be like that sometimes. Because it comes about through letting go rather than through grasping. So it can be, it can also a mood, have a nice mood, and it feels like it's going to be like this forever, and then it changes. That's dukkha. And there's of course dukkha of the body, the physical dukkha. The body will experience discomfort and pain. That's natural. It's part of how it's part of the package. It's part of the deal. And so there's, you might find a comfortable position, and it's really finally. And it's a nice comfortable position, and then if you stay there long enough, it starts to become uncomfortable. That's just how it goes. So this dukkha that the Buddha is pointing to it's just sort of inherent. We can't find lasting satisfaction in what is not lasting. Because everything's changing, we can't possibly find lasting satisfaction in the world because it's changing all the time. So we can find joy in doing good, in moments of generosity or moments of opening, letting go into nature, just being rather than being somebody. we can find moments of joy, and that's really important and very accessible actually. But when we're looking for something that we can keep, that we can sustain, it's going to be dukkha. We're going to have dukkha because everything is changing all the time. So there's a second characteristic of nature, of the way of things. And the third characteristic is anatta. So anatta is not self. And this translation, not self, in English is problematic really, because it kind of creates a self and then it says, no, it's not that. And so it's a little bit hard to get one's head around. But it's pointing to, again, the flux. So I'm talking about the Anandabodhiing process, So if I had a choice, if I could decide, I would probably make a few changes here, on the body and on the, on the mind. And I'd probably have a few things different to how it is, but it's like this. I didn't sort of, it's not I didn't make it like this. This is what I got. And then, there are certain things we can do. We can exercise and eat healthy, and can listen to our body, and so there's a good things we can do. People also do, people also do surgery and cosmetic surgery. People also try to change the body to make it the way they like. It's a bit of a futile thing to be doing, really. It won't last. The body will go through its natural process, whether we change it or not. And the mind, we work on the mind. This is a very key element in the Buddhist path. We work on our mind. We get to know the mind. Actually, we get to know what it's one of the things when we sit in meditation. There can be times when we're just with the object of the breath, or with the metta, whatever it may be. And then there's times when we're just with the habits of this mind, which can be difficult. And then we get to know them. Oh gosh, got such a strong tendency to greed or judgment, being so judgmental, or I just can't make my mind up. It's going round and round in doubt, whatever it might be. So we get to know the mind, our tendencies in meditation. Because it's not all just, purely watching the breath, is it? There's a lot of other stuff going on. So if we pay attention to what's going on, and we see, is it leaning towards aversion? Is it leaning towards greed? Is it got a good balance of both? Sometimes the delusion types they have, people say, are they a greed type or a delusion type? Well, they're probably, are they a greed type or an aversion type? Because some people have kind of quite strong both, and then it's like, well, maybe they're delusion type. Yeah. So we all have different leanings, and in meditation we can get to know that. So those habits of mind, of desire, aversion, and confusion, are not who we are. They're not who and what we are. They're not to be identified with, actually, but they're to be known and recognized, and then we develop certain practices that will help to transform the patterns, the unhelpful patterns of our thinking and perceiving. So the mind, the tendencies of the mind are not who and what we are. And this body is not who and what we are. It belongs to nature. It's doing, nature is doing this. Nature is, transforming food into bones and blood and all this other stuff that's in here. And breath, the process of breathing is giving life, but it's I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to make breath, the air, make this into life. The body knows it's breathing. So thankfully, the body knows what to do, but it's not me. It's just happening. It's nature. So when I'm asleep, I don't have to tell myself, okay, don't forget to breathe in the night. The breathing's going to happen. And that's nature at work. So this body belongs to nature. It's made up of the elements of nature. And the mind also belongs to nature. And what the Buddha is pointing to is that our true nature, so going on to sort of another level really, the true nature of the mind is clear and bright and open, compassionate. This is the true nature of the mind. It's naturally that way. And then, due to many causes and conditions, we are obscured from that much of the time. So we live in a much smaller reality than we could be living in. The story, it comes back to that story of me and mine. And then the many things that may have happened to us or that we may have done that have created a dust, as the Buddha puts it. There's like layers of dust. So we can't see our true, beautiful, bright, clear, compassionate nature. So this practice and meditation retreats and study and discussion and all these things, these are to help us find that again. There's a process. So part of it is, if we have a lot of very unwholesome habits, harmful habits, so the first thing is to stop following those harmful habits, the big ones. Because if we don't, we haven't got a hope. We're just going to keep getting. It's like trying to fill a jug of water when it's got a big hole in it or 3 holes. You can keep filling it and filling it and filling it, but that water's just going to keep leaking out. So first we have to attend to those big leaks, big holes, and then when we stop those harmful actions, we've already got more energy, and then we have to face all kinds of stuff that we regrets and maybe self-aversion and self-hatred and maybe fear and all these things. We have to face all that stuff. And then we have to maybe simultaneously cultivate kindness, generosity, appreciation for ourselves and others, so that we transform the patterns and the habits of this mind stream. So we have to cultivate the good, we have to refrain, we have to hold back, stop following the unwholesome, the harmful, cultivate the good. And as we do that, then we start to see more clearly, and it gives an opportunity for wisdom to arise. And that wisdom is a natural wisdom that shows us the truth of the way things are. So this is the potential that we are showing up for. And it's not just about becoming a good person, although becoming a good person is part of it. But that's not the point, but it's an important element. It's transforming the unwholesome, the harmful, cultivating the good, and purifying the mind stream, so that we can see clearly and so that we can be our highest potential. So this is the sort of big overview of why we're all here. And we'll probably go through many ups and downs on this retreat, and that all belongs, no problem. Don't cling to the highs and say, "Oh, I'm doing so well. I'm such a great time," and then you have a bad day. Like, "Oh no, it's all hopeless." So that's just grasping. It's just like you don't have to grasp hold of that. You learn to watch those ups and downs. You learn to get to know them. They're changing. They're not ultimately who and what we are. And there's a knowing that can stay steady through that process. So that's the big picture stuff, and we'll give more details of how to practice with all of this over these days. But I just wanted to offer that this evening.